Create Your Life presents the Dream Bigger Extravaganza. 12 speakers reveal how they moved from fear to freedom and how you can too. Welcome. So it is my pleasure today to introduce you to Shann Vander Leek. Shann is the founder of True Balance International, co-founder of Anxiety Slayer, author of Life on Your Terms, and creator of the Sacred Heart Teachings. Shann coaches powerful women in transition who are ready to reclaim their feminine sovereignty and transform their precious lives through an intimate exploration of self-study, self-care, and sacred feminine ritual. She is a mama, an author, entrepreneur, artist, and mentor to women who are attracted to her transformational work. Welcome, Shann, to the Dream Bigger Extravaganza.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for inviting me. It's so great to be here with you today.
I'm so happy to be here with you as well. So let's dive right in. And to start, I like to go beyond the bio and really get the backstory. So tell us a little bit about how you came to be doing this work in the world and about your own journey of healing and of opening your heart.
Oh my goodness. I'm so very grateful to be here just a little over 7 years later. So it's about 7 years ago, I left my corporate job, and that was really a big move for me. I had been in the television advertising world for 18 years. I had a powerful position. I absolutely loved working in that environment, very high-powered, very high-paying, and very high stress. Until my gorgeous daughter was born. And becoming a mama changes you so much and makes you really recalibrate and take a look at what's important in your life. And there was no way that I was going to be able to show up for Mare in the way that I wanted to and continue the lifestyle that I had been living. I had no idea at that time that I wasn't caring for myself very well. I had kicked my body to the curb. I was go until I got home, and then would just veg out on the couch and watch TV or what, just my life was so revolved around being a workaholic, type A personality, perfectionist on top of that. So I had my work cut out for me. And a big part of that was preparing to leave that corporate world and having the courage to really look at this and figure out, how am I going to do that? That was a lifestyle. That was the only profession I'd ever known, but I wasn't happy. And it was amazing how you can think that you're happy. And then one day you realize, oh my goodness, well, this no longer serves me. I have to figure out how to let this go. And so it was one of the hardest things I have ever done. But I'm so grateful that I had the courage to do it.
I love so much of what you've said. I love first the word recalibrate. That's such a great word. And then to recognize that you were scared, there was fear, but courage. You let your courage be bigger. You would have had to take that leap. So that relationship between fear and courage, I think it's so important to emphasize that it doesn't mean you're not afraid because you take a big leap. It means you're courageous. Yeah.
It really does. And courage has been a big part of my life. Definitely one of those buzzwords in Shann's world for a very, very long time. And so I'm so happy that is a part of the way that I move through the world, to just go for it. And to do so knowing that this isn't very comfortable right now, but I'm going to do it anyway.
I like this isn't very comfortable right now, just to recognize. Well,
and to ask for support and to really reach out and touch base with people who have been there before you. Anytime we're ready to let go of something important, anytime we're facing the unknown and we're feeling a little insecure about it, there are people who have gone before us. And they're willing to support us if we would just realize that you are not alone in this, whatever it is you're facing, and that there are those that will jump in at any time to lead the way for you or to light the way for you.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And that's what this is all about, right? Telling the real stories and helping people see that they're not alone. If you're right on the cusp of a leap, whatever it is, whether it's leaving a corporate job or whatever, that courage is so required, and it doesn't mean it's comfortable.
Oh my gosh,
do it anyway. So tell us a little bit more about the connection to then go from this corporate world, this power position in that world, to moving into work that's supporting people with healing and opening the heart. So what was your own journey around that led you to this work in particular?
Oh, that's such a great question. There are several components to that, and I guess I would start by my healing journey really began before I left the corporate world. I began to practice yoga. I began to do what I needed to do to find some center, to find some balance in my life, because I was realizing that I was, before I realized it was time to go, I realized it was time to care for myself, or who knows what might happen. And so as I started practicing yoga and started to breathe and do a lot of breathing exercises and guided meditations, and it's amazing what happens in your life when you step into that circle, when you step into that healing arena. I didn't know. I thought, okay, I'll go do this, and they're going to make me try and relax, and I'm going
to make me relax.
Okay, and I'll be open to it. And then I was immediately hooked. Like I realized, oh my gosh, this was an oasis where I could actually learn to sink in and let go and not be in control, or and have the illusion of control.
Yes.
So at that time, I was also looking at some pretty deep wounding through or with my relationship with my father, my biological father. I was inspecting who I wanted to become. I had some significant wounding around, believe it or not, bullying when I was younger was still hanging out with me.
Mm-hmm.
And so all of those things were coming to the surface, and I needed to say, oh, okay, where do I begin, and how do I look at this, and more importantly, how do I release some of the pain or some of the shame of choices made in my past? All this stuff was coming up, and I thought, oh, great. I asked for this, didn't I? But here we go.
Mm-hmm.
And so my entrepreneurial life went from supporting women who were ready to release the golden handcuffs from their corporate jobs to helping them live a more full, joyful life through some of this hard work, some of this deep introspective work. And so it's really been an evolution to where we are now. Yeah. And the Sacred Heart teachings came really from that. I mean, it was something that I had to do. I had to be able to share my process and how I'm before you today.
Got it. Okay, so good. So all of that hard work in corporate, then the energy, it sounds like you really shifted the focus of that and then focused it on the hard inner work and doing what that took. And what a powerful story, and thank you for sharing all of that. That even the bullying, right? We're never too old to have the childhood ouch, come up. So I just really appreciate you acknowledging that as well. So you spoke to your Sacred Heart teachings a little bit, and I know that there's a Sacred Heart healing cycle behind that. So what is the Sacred Heart healing cycle, and how can it help those who are watching? Just really take us through that.
Okay. The Sacred Heart healing cycle begins where we all begin, in the area of innocence. And everything is creation and joy and curiosity, and anything is possible. And so anyone watching this can probably remember some of that in their own childhood, or if you're a parent watching your child, having the opportunity to raise a child and watch them have this experience. And then we start to grow up and we have more experiences outside of the cocoon of our home. And depending on how you were raised, there may have been a cocoon or there may not have been. And you have some heartbreak, whether it's loss of a first love, whether it's bullying, whether it's not a very healthy environment within your home, whether, the list goes on. And so we start to harden a little bit, and our heart starts to calcify a little bit, and we move from that place of heartbreak to this wounded place, or this wounding place. And it's important to know that, or to say that we don't always know we're there. So I don't mean like, oh, you're wounded, you're a victim, you're over in the corner suffering. There's this underlying suffering. There's this underlying piece that may or may not come up for you, that you may or may not realize you're dealing with. And so when we're there, if we're lucky, we realize that there's got to be so much more, and that we can let go of our past. We can let go of these experiences that might be continuing to define our lives as they are now. I didn't want to carry the pain of a dysfunctional relationship with my dad. I didn't want to carry the bullying. I didn't want to carry that loop of reminders of choices that I made in my unconscious youth. I wanted to be rid of all of that. I wanted to be free of all of that and create this and bring this cycle forward. And so from the wounding, where do we go? We go to that return to innocence. We come back to that healing place. And it's not all doing the healing. It really is work. And when I talk about courage, there are days that truly I have been brought to my knees, and then there are days that I'm so ecstatic to, well, like right now, to be here with you and realize how far I've come. And that I've been able to help other women do the same. And that's just phenomenal.
What's better than that, right?
I know.
So this is beautiful. So let me just recap some of what you've said, because I really see the power of these 4 stages in the Sacred Heart healing cycle. So I hear you saying it really starts with our innocence. And I love that in terms of dreaming bigger, because in that stage of innocence, anything is possible. And when kids, I think of kids, like they'll tell anyone who will listen, like the bus driver or the lady in line behind them in the grocery store, like, I want to be an astronaut, or, right, I'm going to be a doctor, whatever the heck it is for them. They'll tell anyone in that stage of innocence where anything is possible. So, and then something happens, and there's heartbreak, this recognition that, oh, the world maybe isn't as safe as I thought. Maybe anything isn't possible. Maybe I need to be realistic, right? All of the stories that set in that stage. And jump in here if there's anything you want to add to that. That's what I'm hearing, yeah?
You understand.
Okay. And then the wounding, which I want to talk more about. And then returning to that innocence, which absolutely is a process. So on that, I'll just share personally, in preparing for this interview, I was thinking about my own journey of healing my heart and the wounding And it was back in, I'm going to be sharing a little bit more about this in my bonus lucky number 13 video, but just briefly, like back in 2001, it was a really, really dark time for me. And I was in this basement apartment that I lived in for 3 years. And there was a moment where I just realized I have to surrender here. I have to surrender to the pain, to the wounds that are absolutely not going to quiet. And recognize that the only way out really was through. And that was a dark year, quite literally. I was in a basement apartment for starters, but it was a very dark year. And had I not gone through that process, I would not have been able to come out on the other side and do what I'm absolutely here to do.
Right.
So I know you resonate with all of that.
Oh, I so do.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit more about the wounding place. Like when we're there.
When we're there, this is when we start to lose our ability to trust, which, I could just start crying right now, just saying the word, because that has been something I've been reclaiming for a long, long time. And we start to really get a little bit more skeptical, closed. We start to close. We start to protect ourselves. We start to judge ourselves. We start to judge others. And it's just, I wish there was a way that this didn't have to be a part of this cycle, but the idealist part of me is that we're all just joyful and happy in our lives. But this is what happens, and part of the reason why I put this cycle together was to help you identify where you are and to understand that depending on what we're talking about, you're going to be in a different place in the cycle. So if we're talking about relationships, or if we're talking about your past, or if we're talking about a particular experience that really shifted you. So did that answer your question?
Yeah. And I think that's really important too. It depends on the area of your life that you're talking about. So you could be in different stages depending on the area of your life that you're really looking at. Yeah?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Beautiful. So I know you say that the time for sacred emotional healing is now. Why now?
I think that we deserve to give ourselves this gift to understand that through introspection, through having the courage, there's that word again, to look in the mirror and really identify what might be holding us down, what might be keeping us from a joyful presence, might be keeping us from our true reason for being on this planet, all of the things that keep us small. And so we deserve this. And we deserve to put ourselves at the front of the line instead of everybody else before us.
Yeah.
It's amazing to me how many women especially are the greatest caregivers in the world and have absolutely no idea how to receive care, how to receive the emotional healing that they really deserve, and that with some inquiry, some self-inquiry, you can uncover what needs to be gotten rid of. You can start to let go of what no longer serves you, whether it's relationships, whether it's your job, where you live, whatever it is that might be grating on you, that to show up and be mindful. As soon as you're aware, you can't go back. So you have, as soon as here it is, it's on my radar. What am I going to do now?
Yeah, you can't unremember.
No, you can't.
Right? We can try to trick ourselves, but absolutely, once that awareness is there, again, that the only way out is through. Right at that point. So I'm imagining people who are watching that might identify as, God, I'm in the wounded stage. I'm in stage 3, and it feels scary. It feels overwhelming. I feel heavy and frightened and alone. What would you say to them in terms of that daunting feeling of like, how long is this going to take to get to the other side? Can you say a little bit about that? Because I know for myself, that was really a thought that was present for me. Like, how long is this going to take once I surrender to the process?
It's such a good question. And really, the answer really depends on each individual person and the investment that they place in moving through transition. And I do a lot of work teaching people about the 4 stages of transition, which we begin with this discomfort and knowing something's got to change.
Okay.
And sometimes that's really tough. We often don't even know what that change represents.
Yeah.
Then we have to go internal and in the basement and be alone and take the time that we need to get clear and to dig in.
Yep.
And then the more that we care for ourselves through that process, through journaling, through breathing exercises, through really allowing ourselves that cave woman time or caveman time that we need to get a little bit clearer. It doesn't mean it's all better, but to get clearer, because then that leads into the next stage, which is really exciting because you're ready to explore again. You're ready to see, you're ready to explore again. You're ready to see opportunity and options and maybe take a new class or reach out to somebody in a different way or get a little bit more bold in your decision making. Yeah. And then from there into the celebration or renaissance phase, okay? So how quickly we get through that cycle, right? How quickly we get through that is really based on us and our willingness to admit that things aren't working, to ask for support if needed, to get really clear about what no longer serves us.
Yep.
We tend to allow ourselves to bump around in our day-to-dayness to not shake things up, to let things stay, okay, it's all right, this is okay. Well, it's supposed to be a hell of a lot more than that, right?
Say that again.
We're really, really here to enjoy this gift of being alive. So how long does it take? Jump in, do the work, and you'll move through it when you're meant to move through it. Self-sabotage will keep you away from to getting to the other side. But here you and I sit, and we've been there. Yeah. And here we are now. And it's not to say that we're always going to be here.
That's right.
We're going to have other changes and transformations and transitions.
Yep.
But by facing it head on, we're that much ahead of the game, aren't we?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. So for me, I found that as soon as I stopped resisting that I had to go into that dark tunnel, then the quicker the process got. Things quickly sped up. So just for myself, it was the resistance to it that really prolonged it. But once I surrendered, things started to really take a quick pace. And I was like, oh, okay, I can handle this. I got this. I see the tunnel. It goes there and there's an end. I know there's an end.
Right.
So, so thank you for all of it. And you're just so, God, you talk about the feminine essence and you just so embody that, Shann. It's just so beautiful. And I could just really feel your open heart. And I see your shirt with your beautiful flower right over your heart. The lotus flower, gorgeous. All right. So good. So how does someone know if they're ready to really surrender and ready to heal their wounded heart?
If you're ready, if you want to trust again, if you want to be comfortable in relationship again, and comfortable meaning that you let go of that self-judgment, that you allow yourself to show up as you really are, that you're not wearing masks every single day in order to pretend that you're somebody other than you're not, that you are tired of carrying the weight of whatever it is that might be holding you back. For instance, with my relationship with my father, I had to make a decision to walk away from the relationship for quite some time while I did my own work. And that was not an easy choice to make, but it was absolutely the best choice for me and for my daughter and for my business and for everything. And man, that's not something that you take lightly, but then you do your work and then you come back around. And I'm happy to say that we have began a new relationship. It just looks a lot different than the other one. And there's no more fear wrapped up in it. There's no more shame wrapped up in it. There's none of the stuff. As a matter of fact, the first time that we came together, there were no threads. I wasn't even nervous. It was so profound. And that's just one example, but those kinds of things that anyway.
Well,
I'll keep babbling on. So.
Well, what a powerful transformation in that one relationship as a perfect example of what can happen when you honor what you know you need, even if that means stepping away from it, whether permanently or for an undetermined amount of time.
Right.
And then to have the full circle of coming back around to it without the emotional charge present anymore. Yeah. I mean, there is your evidence of true healing and peace being made.
Yeah.
And again, the courage that it must have taken to make that decision for yourself, for your daughter, for your business, for your life.
Pretty intense. And really, I'm really grateful for all of it. Because my own experience helps me support others who are definitely in those throes of those kinds of situations, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. You couldn't support them if you hadn't been there.
Right.
Yeah, and that really...
And then I must say, to answer your question more directly, forgiveness.
Uh-huh.
So if you're, what do you need to do right now, or if you know you're ready, is if you start to feel like you're ready to forgive yourself and forgive others and forgive anybody and everybody who's ever done you harm. It's amazing how that will free your heart.
Okay. So a test point or a way to check in with yourself is, do I feel ready to put down the resentment? Am I ready to let go of whatever I'm holding on to and forgive myself and others?
Yeah.
Can you say a little bit more about forgiveness? Because I think oftentimes forgiveness seems to be something that requires the other person, or that's the perception that the other person needs to be involved in that. Is that your understanding of forgiveness?
Not at all.
Okay.
In my opinion, and through my own experiences and from what I've read from mentors and people that I hold in high regard, this is about taking care of ourselves first. This is about we forgive ourselves and others, and we do that for ourselves so that we can move on. It doesn't mean that people who have done things to you, that have harmed you, that have been horrible to you, it doesn't mean you're letting them off the hook. It doesn't mean that it was okay. It means that you're willing to move forward and put it behind you to the best of your ability and to begin again, or to begin again for yourself, not necessarily in relationship, but and this covers so much ground, forgiveness does. And within the gift that I offer to all of our viewers, there's a forgiveness exercise that's really, really powerful.
Awesome.
And I just can't even express the importance of forgiving ourselves too.
Yes. Awesome. So forgiveness is really a gift to ourselves, not to the other person.
It is.
Yeah. It's very dramatic. There's a quote I've heard, and maybe you've heard it as well, that not being in forgiveness is like drinking poison and waiting for the other person to die.
Yeah, it is.
But when that was first shared with me, I was like, oh yeah, like Right.
Makes a lot of sense.
I'm not hurting them by holding on to this resentment. I'm hurting myself. So forgiveness is a gift to me. It doesn't mean I'm saying that was okay to do.
Right. And the thing is so many people are carrying, like, picture yourself with a backpack full of every harm that's ever been done to you, and you just keep adding these, one stone after the next that represent each of these situations. Do you realize that most of the people that have done you harm or that you feel have not treated you properly, they don't even know. They're not even thinking about it. Right. It's not even a part of their world. Right. And yet here you are, weighted down, allowing yourself to be heavy and sad and overwhelmed and playing this loop of pain and shame or anger, whatever. Let it go. It's amazing. When you do, you feel so much better. You feel so much more on top of things because, oh my gosh, I feel so much lighter. I could just I need to be tethered now because I have to carry around all that garbage.
I love it. I need to be tethered now. Now I'm like a hot air balloon.
Right.
Okay, yeah. So people who are like, yes, I want that, and I'm feeling heavy, and I want to need to be tethered. So what's one thing that they can do right now to really start healing their past and letting go of the resentment? What is one thing that they can do?
Start with yourself. I think that is a key piece of this. And what I mean by that is not only do we carry the weight of the things that have happened to us in our lives that have been put upon us by others or situations, but what about the stuff that we do to ourselves? What about our inner critic? What about the one inside that wants to remind us of this misstep or this poor choice or this situation? It's extremely important that you realize that you are human and not compare yourself to a saint or compare and not have these expectations that are so high of yourself that there's no way you could ever reach them, but to say, I'm human and I'm going to learn from this and I'm going to let it go and I'm going to move on. Or maybe at some point in the future, I'll be able to reference this and help somebody else who's having the same situation or who's been through the same choice making or whatever. So it really is forgiveness of self would be the one thing after a nice giant deep breath.
Okay, yeah. So start with a deep breath. You create from where you are, and then it might look like going for a walk or taking a yoga class, just something that nourishes you and begins to set you on that path of forgiveness.
Absolutely.
Got it. Beautiful. So this has been so rich and just so incredibly fantastic. And I want you to tell us a little bit more about that free gift that you're offering that I know is so generous for those who are really eager to take that next step with this work. So tell us about that.
I'd be happy to.
Great.
Basically, what you're receiving is the Sacred Heart Healing Cycle that we talked about in our conversation today. You also receive a beautiful, relaxing, guided meditation, journaling prompts, the forgiveness exercise that I mentioned, and just a better understanding of the emotions that you might be feeling. And knowing that you're not alone, you can identify where you are within the Sacred Heart Healing Cycle, depending on, again, whether you're looking at relationship, whether you're looking at the past, whether you're looking at whatever it is that you might be facing right now. And it's just a way for you to come back to this place of, okay, I know where I am, and I'm ready to do what I need to do to return to innocence, to heal my heart, to let go of my past, and to live a more joyful life, because we all deserve that, and we all can have that. There's just no question that we can.
Okay, I love it. So it's so fabulous. That's such a rich gift, and I hope everybody goes to claim that gift. And it's from that place of innocence that then we can dream bigger.
Yes. Yeah? Yes. Look at how that tied together.
I love it. Yeah, look how that just came right back around. Yeah, so from that place of innocence that we can remember anything is possible. We can remember that we don't have to have all the answers. We can be that kid who's saying, I want to be an astronaut or whatever the heck it is for you. So that's so good. Thank you so much. And what's your website, Shann, for people who want to check out your work?
I have two websites that I would recommend. One is transformationgoddess.com. And then the other one is shannvanderleek.com.
Got it. Transformationgoddess.com and shannvanderleek.com. Fantastic. Wonderful. Well, I wish you a beautiful, open-hearted, loving, light day. And I am just so grateful for your time today. And thank you so much for connecting.
Oh my gosh, thank you. It's been an honor, and the time just flew by. So
I know.
Thanks again for the invitation.
You're welcome. Thanks so much. Bye.
Bye.